Having a high frame rate in a game is pretty nice. It can give you better reflexes, help with smooth movement, and overall just makes your gaming experience much more pleasant. Today, we take frame rate to the extreme. Our goal? To squeeze every last frame per second out of this block game made for children. Oh, and it'd also be great if I could run a Skyblock hub at over 30 FPS, but I guess we can't have everything, right? So, how are we going to achieve
maximum frame rate?
Well, frame rate relies mainly on what type of PC you have. So let's take a look at it. Copious amounts of RGB? Check. Fingerprint covered case? Check. 4-year-old incredibly dusty fans? Absolutely. But what are the specs? It has a 4-core i7, 16GB of RAM, and a GTX 1060 that was plasti dipped white very poorly. So, let's test it out. Minecraft 1.16? Optifine? 200 FPS? Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. Alright, well, let's just add some shaders and... yep, okay, 30 FPS. Now, to be fair, those shaders are Ultra Gamer Giga Chad ray tracing shaders, so my poor old PC never really stood a chance. Now, what do you do when your computer is struggling to run Minecraft? Option A, change some settings to reduce the workload. Or Option B, add some more performance mods to try and get it to run better. You're absolutely right. Option C, add a 1024 resolution texture pack and watch the PC cry.
As you can see, it's running just fine. I mean, I don't see any frame drops, and we're not really lagging at all. It's fantastic, honestly.
Well, I don't think this PC's quite gonna cut it. We're gonna need something bigger, better, and faster. But don't worry, I have just the thing. Oh yeah, now this is a computer that can run Minecraft. It's got a Ryzen 9 5950X 16-core absolute unit of a CPU, 32GB of RGB RAM for maximum Chrome tabs, and an RTX 3080 so that I can run ray tracing shaders while also maybe having Discord open in the background. Maybe. But before I can try anything out, there's something more important to do. Well, I've got the PC all set up now. It's sitting happily under my desk, raising the average temperature of my room by about 10 degrees. Very nice. So let's test it. Alright, so you see the little frame rate thing in the top left? Yeah, it turns out using the F3 menu in-game actually reduces your FPS. So I installed MSI Afterburner so that I don't have to worry about it. I should have done this on the old PC too, but guess who's not getting out my old PC to re-record 5 minutes of footage? Me. So we've remade the same world with the same seed and hopefully the same settings, and as you can see, we're getting around 450 to 500 FPS. That's like double. But now, I think it's only fair that we test it with the shaders. Now these shaders are pretty hard to run, so I wouldn't be surprised if and it's at 130 FPS. Not bad. But are you really running ray traced Minecraft if you don't have a ridiculously high resolution texture pack to go along with it? So here we have normal faithful 32X and also faithful 1024X. Paint Edition. Okay, yep, we only lost 20 FPS. So the blocks look pretty normal, it just kind of looks like normal faithful 32, but then you zoom in. And yep, that's a lot of pixels. There's a lot of pixels in that. That's a very high resolution dirt block. You know, if you're watching this on mobile or with trash internet, there's a good chance that there are more pixels on this Minecraft dirt block than you are seeing on your entire video. But are we here to make the game look good? No. We're here to squeeze out the most FPS physically possible. I want to prioritize increasing FPS in a playable way first, and then we'll move on to, well, maximizing. So I found some random game journalism article on the best Minecraft 1.16 Optifine settings for FPS Boost. It's a pretty long article, so I'm gonna have to paraphrase a bit. Oh yeah, just go into your settings and just turn everything off. Yep, every single setting, I want it on minimum. Render distance, 2 to 6 recommended. Okay. Alright, now our settings are nice and optimized, and well, the game's not looking too bad. I mean, I can see at least 20 blocks in front of me, and we're getting 2000 to 3000 FPS, so it's pretty good. But in my opinion, this is still far too playable. So to fix this, I downloaded an ultimate FPS texture pack for ultimate frame rate. Wow, it's beautiful. Alright, yeah, this texture pack's definitely reducing my frame rate, not actually making it better, but it's the thought that counts, right? I even tried to play some Bed Wars with these settings, but it didn't go so well. Now all of these ridiculously high frame rates look great when you see them in action, but turns out living with pre-meltdown Chernobyl under your desk can be a little problematic at times. So far, the PC has crashed not once, not twice, but 4 times due to the CPU overheating. It has a liquid cooler on it and 3 fans blasting air straight into it. I actually had to go buy new fans for the radiator and some better thermal paste just to make it usable, and even then, it still wasn't great. I even had to go into BIOS and undervolt the CPU to force it to consume less power and therefore make less heat. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to hear me talking over the sound of these fans. But enough distractions. 2800 FPS is good, but not good enough. There's a Minecraft mod called Sodium, which is apparently like Optifine on crack. So, let's give it a try. Initially, it doesn't seem that great. Only a 100 FPS difference. It turns out I was using the wrong renderer like an absolute bozo. When the right renderer is active, we get around 1400 FPS at a render distance of 16, which is honestly kind of ridiculous. But now let's crank down the settings. So we're sitting at about 2300 FPS. But you see all this grass and leaves and chickens and stuff that the game's having to render? Yeah, that is all reducing our FPS, and I will not stand for it. So to fix the game actually having to like draw blocks and stuff, we'll fly up to around Y250. And suddenly, we spike up to 2900 FPS. But that's still not all. Turns out, if you switch to the old, worse renderer, it gives you higher FPS when not rendering anything. Amazing. For a final touch, we can also press F1 to hide the UI, which gives around another 400 FPS or so. So that's it, right? 3600 FPS? That's the peak? Well, no. I decided to test this method on Optifine, assuming it would be worse, because, you know, Sodium's meant to be the best. But no, I'm getting 4000 FPS. Why? Absolutely no clue. But there you go, 4000 FPS in Minecraft 1.16. So, that's actually it. 4000 FPS over 16 times the number of frames that my monitor can actually output. Incredible. I guess now I should go do some AH flipping or something. Psych, did you really think I would end this video on 1.16? Absolutely not. You see, there's this incredibly specific version of Minecraft that's even better. Every other version is garbage, but this one is amazing. Minecraft RD 2009-05-15. And oh, is it a beauty. You've got the stone, you can mine the stone, you can place the stone. But best of all, Wobbly Arm Steve. Sometimes, in the pursuit of frame rate, you have to make some small sacrifices, and playing on a game version that's 12 years old is just par for the course. But existing on this landmass is not going to give us optimal frame rate, so instead we have to do a tactical exit. And once we stop looking at the stone island, you can see that we're now getting a beautiful 4500 FPS. Alright, yeah, that is actually the highest frame rate I was able to get. But there is always a higher frame rate. So how would one theoretically get a higher frame rate than that? Well, all this super high frame rate stuff is basically entirely bound to the CPU, so you could overclock it. But I'm not going to be doing that. I'm sure some Chad with too much time on his hands will liquid nitrogen cool his $1,000 CPU in pursuit for 5% higher FPS in a block game. Won't be me though. Yet. You could also mod the game into oblivion, removing more core features and therefore making it even easier to run. I am too dumb. Believe me, I tried. So that's about it from me. I hope you learnt something, and if not, I hope I've at least left you with a burning desire to maximize frame rate. I'm gonna go do some AH flipping or something. I don't know.